China, 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 China. You take China.
China.
China. I love them. China. China, 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 China. I have to have my China. China, China, because China, 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 China.
China. Always in the news, always relevant, and always beefing with somebody. Yeah, so China has set up a blockade around Taiwan. This is already the second day. They went on for about 10 hours earlier. I read that somewhere. Okay, I guess it wasn't this article, but yeah, so there was about 130 aircrafts, 14 ships. There were fighters, bombers, the whole nine. Due to all of this, Taiwan's defense ministry had to stay on alert, just basically keeping their own aircrafts and navy ships, missiles, everything just on the ready. And you know what I'm saying, stay ready and gotta get ready. That's the type of mindset Taiwan is on when China is involved. What else is going on? I believe, was it this one? No. Yep. So, aside from China encircling Taiwan and flexing its arms with its military 10-hour drills of live fire, what else is going on with China and Taiwan? China is upset at America engaging with Taiwan, saying that in response to the continuous provocations by pro-independent forces in Taiwan and the large-scale U.S. arms sales to Taiwan, we must resolutely oppose and strongly counter them, Wang said. All right. And you might be wondering, why is it bad to be pro-independent? I mean, independence has never really been a bad thing unless you're the oppressor and don't want the person to gain independence. Yeah, Taiwan continues to act responsibly, neither escalating tensions nor yielding to threats. We will steadfastly defend our freedom against coercion. Yes, that's what you got to do, boys. The escalation comes less than 2 weeks after the State Department approved more than 11 billion. Fuck. The package includes more than 1,000 Javelin missiles, more than 80 high mobility artillery rocket systems, and 60 self-propelled. How was it, sir? How? Anyways, the U.S. is required by the 1979 Taiwan Relations Act to provide arms to the island, which China claims as its own. Okay, wasn't born then, so you know what I'm saying. Did not know that one. Did not know this was a requirement. I just thought that America and the State Department was throwing away billions by the buttload as usual. But I mean, I guess if there's already a treaty or some document signed, way before my birth, I can't really talk nothing about that. But besides China dealing with Taiwan, what other issues are they dealing with country-wise? Japan. What a coincidence. Who would have guessed? And with what's going on in Taiwan and China encircling them during their live tests, some people are speculating that this might actually be China testing Japan and the US, seeing how quickly they can respond in the Pacific. China may be testing Japan and the United States to see their response to military actions by its aircraft carrier Liaoning and the bombers near Japan in December. At that time, the U.S. 7th Fleet aircraft named George Washington was conducting joint exercises. Some believe China and Russia did not advance further east and kept certain distance from their air defense zone and active waters of the U.S. vessel. Okay, Japanese government source says the intention is not clear, but after watching the reaction of Japan into Japan, okay, so a Japanese So, a source in the Japanese government says that the intention was not clear, but after watching the reactions from the U.S. and China, or U.S. and Japan, on the security front in deteriorating Japan-China relations, Beijing may not or may have avoided provoking the U.S. military partly as domestic diplomatic decision. Okay, so from the looks of it, it looks like they believe that China ran this test just to kind of see how quickly and how the U.S. would respond in the midst to the amid the deteriorating Japan and China relations. And I guess after seeing how the U.S. responded, they took the diplomatic route. Smart. Testing out whether or not, or how quickly, both Japan and America would respond. And they did not want to fuck around and find out. So aside from, the issues with other nations, China has already issues with itself. The economy has been slowing down. The slowdown the slowdown of China's economy is not solely due to external influence or stimuli. There are already many issues within the country. There are many sectors that have been very prosperous in the past and have started to shrink significantly in recent times, while there are other, less appealing jobs, people would have assumed in the past that are, I don't think, becoming more appealing now, but are just becoming the only option. China grain. Yeah, so they are working to become self-sustaining, self-sufficient. Yeah, that makes a lot more sense. If in 2025 alone, they purchased a total of 415 million tons. Let's just see how many pounds that is. Tons to pounds. So if it's 415 million tons, Jesus H. Christ. 914,918,388,067 pounds. That's a pound of grain. I'm just doing my own quick maths. Obviously, they're getting wholesale prices and discounts, and you know, the price that they're paying for a pound versus what I would be paying for a pound in the store is very different. But even just, I'm saying, taking whatever I pay and cutting it by 10%, 20%, 50%, fuck it, whatever. That is still billions. Okay, yeah. So it makes sense why they would be very, very serious, very, very serious about becoming self-sufficient and growing their own grains, soybeans, and whatnot. Huh. So China is pouring billions into South America grain handling ports, effectively bypassing American farmers. Huh. All right. So last week, China is investing billions into Latin America. For its part, China made a strategic decision to pivot away from the U.S. as its main supplier of soybeans and shift to South American farmers, mainly in Brazil and Argentina, given that so far, for all of 2025, the Chinese will have purchased or promised to purchase far fewer quantity of soybeans than they have in the recent past, 18 million tons in 2025 versus 27 million tons in 2024. It appears that Chinese purchases of South American products are making up for any cutbacks of U.S. supplies. Yeah, I mean, I don't know what America kind of expected with this one. We're not the number one farmers. We kind of outsource that to just about anybody else. We don't want to do those type of heavy manual laborious jobs. As for China's investment in South America, let's see. Port of Santos, Brazil has a 58 terminal complex. In Peru, China is investing 3.5 billion in the deepwater port of Chancay. And Chancay port will reduce shipping times between Peru and Shanghai from 35 to 23 days. Okay, that is a good cutback. That's what, fuck, like 30% almost? 30% quicker shipping. I'm not gonna lie, for 3.5 bill, they would recoup that pretty quickly. In the meantime, soybean shipments from American ports are static or falling. Yep, and New Orleans shipments grew by less than 3% from September 2024 to September 2025. At the Los Angeles district, it fell by 15%. And Seattle shipment fell 81. Good God, China said, fuck you, fuck you. Yep, trend seems clear, and it is not encouraging. Yeah, the mishandling of the trade wars with China, definitely some lasting effects. American farmers will have to contend with developing new world order in soybean production and distribution. But the issue with that is that, you know, America has certain FDA requirements and food restrictions and whatnot that farmers have to abide by, you know, or else dropping quality of the food, and eventually they're going to get fined, caught, shut down, whatever you have in mind. With South America, there are little to no rules, or if there are rules, it's their own nation's rules. They don't necessarily have to abide by them. You know, they can use certain fertilizers, certain this, certain do certain that to maximize their yield. And it's just going to be very difficult, borderline impossible, for the American farmers to seriously contend with the farmers in Brazil and Argentina, Peru, and all that. It's gonna be a doozy for them. It's gonna be a doozy for them boys. Yeah. Okay. So 415 million tons. That was it. That was great news. You know, very succinct, very straight to the point. 3 lines and way more ads than anything else on that page. Aside from that, of course, anytime you hear about China, almost always, or I guess now as well, Japan, the low birth rates and how that is affecting them. So the low birth rates are obviously going to leave less people to work. You know, when the older generation phases out, becomes too old to work and has to retire. And that is going to cause significant issues because typically, when you think of other, non-American nations, non-European nations, you kind of have the normal setup of where the children kind of take care of the parents in their older years, whether they have the parents move in or they check up on them very, very seriously, or maybe they get a helper, not putting them in a home, but getting someone to help, not the American way. But now, no. And on top of that, it even translates outside of the home and even in work, when the older generation has been working at companies for a while, I believe that they are rewarded with special rights, not special rights, but they're moved, to a place where they have a better view so they can enjoy, relax, sip tea, coffee, whatever. And their workload is reduced. Obviously, I don't think it's zero because over there, I believe even if they were to give them no work, it would probably be seen as an insult, but they're just given light work to, seem fulfilled. And it's just to thank them for the loyalty and all that. So in the same way, children would kind of do that, thank you for raising me. Here's a house, or, I have a house now, you can move in, blah, 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 blah. That was the structure. That was the way. Now, with birth rates being low and disproportional population and the older generation versus the younger generation, there's definitely going to be issues regarding that. There's also going to be issues with healthcare and pension. Um, who is going to be taking care of these people? Just we'll have to wait and see. Um, of course, not just China, but everywhere else, the unemployment is climbing higher, especially in the youths, having just graduated from colleges and being unable to find a job, causing tension, causing unrest. Those are, educated people attempting to get into educated positions that they worked hard for. Not saying that they don't deserve or need to work at lower paying jobs, lower status, quote unquote jobs, but in a nation where a lot of basically your life circles around saving face and people's opinions on you, they people who graduate from college would be less likely to take up quote unquote shittier positions. So we've even seen some videos of companies where people would actually pay to come into said company that looks like a work office to post pictures, for friends, family, to make it look like they're working and or just work. I mean, I can see the positive on the side of working. You can build structure around it, not fall into lackadaisical routines, waking up at a certain time, going to work at a certain time, eating lunch at a certain time. I don't know, whatever you're going to do in a structured way, I can see the positive of it. So how are they dealing with, I guess, certain positions being there, but educated people not wanting to take them? They are bringing in people from rural areas. Yeah, they're having them come to the cities, giving them jobs. They're getting paid, but unlike regular jobs where, I guess they're structured or it's, not a contract work kind of thing, they are not getting any benefits, healthcare and whatnot, pension. And that is, again, going back to the first point, closer to the birth rates and all that, is going to cause more strain with the healthcare because you're not going to have people to take care of the people that are older and need help, right? You're also not having the young people invest in the pensions that would pay for the older people to get help. So on either side of the coin, they're fucked.